Ladies and gentlemen, now that you have downloaded your raw footage, it's time to get started on stage 1, which is the raw footage. Before we get started on the stages, we have to set up our sequence and our edit inside of Premiere Pro. So over here, I've got my raw footage. This is what it should look like once you have downloaded it. It's a nice and simple file. Let's go ahead and boot up Premiere Pro and let's get started on this project. So as Premiere Pro boots up, you guys already know what the first step is. We got to add a new project. Let's call this final test and let's make sure to create it. Let's skip over the import and let's go over to our UI or our editing panel. So inside our editing panel, let's move the project files to the bottom left, just because that's how we got used to it, and shrink down this audio and look at how far you guys have come, right? Went from someone who doesn't understand Premiere Pro all the way to someone who knows everything about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's add in a new sequence. So we're going to click on new and click on sequence, and we're going to add a horizontal 1080p sequence. It's the same preset which we created early on. I don't know if you guys remember, it's been a while back. So let's go ahead and drag in the raw footage into our project files and our project panel, and we are good to go. It's a 28-second clip. Let's go ahead and drag this in and let's zoom in and let's get started on stage 1, the cuts. So I'm gonna go ahead and select my razor tool, or C for you guys who are experts, and let's go ahead and we're just gonna do this the professional way. We're gonna trim off some of the silence in the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. We're going to cut off some of the silence over here, like so. Let's go ahead and do that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master I repeat that 2 times because I messed it up in the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. Awesome. First, you must learn both. Then let's go ahead and cut off all that silence. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. All right, let's do this one more time. A high quality editing style to stylize your content with. There we go. And then let's cut it up one more time. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. Nice. And let's remove this final bit of silence over here. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. Awesome. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, now with this being said, our base cuts are complete. Let's go ahead and trim it down using our J cuts. So if you guys remember, we don't want to make sure that we don't get things out of sync. So we're going to be using our selector tool and our alt and movement. This is how you master video editing in 2025. Awesome. Let's go ahead and shrink this down and bring this thing forward a bit. 25. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Awesome. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content. I'm going to make sure that I don't overdo content with. And finally, I'm going to make sure I don't overdo it here just because I want some pauses in between these. Stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. Awesome. And then let's go and trim down this first section here. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. There we go. Awesome. And we end up with like a 17 second reel. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2020. I'm going to watch through these cuts and just double check that everything's sharp, okay? Video editing in 2025. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. We can make these cuts a bit nicer by extending this first section, so having a bit more quietness in here. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro, this one's okay, and After Effects. Then you must learn and this one just needs to be a bit closer like this. After Effects. Then you must learn there we go, that's a lot smoother, see? After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And then this one needs to be over here. Finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just awesome. There we go. Let's go. With this being said, now we can get started on our next step, which is the zoom ins. So let's go ahead and see where we want to add some zoom ins. Obviously, we've got everything saved up as a preset, so it's going to be really, really easy. Let's get started on our first clip. In the first clip here, I want to have a quick zoom in. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say ladies and gentlemen, I want a quick zoom in right in. So we're going to get started on dragging in a quick zoom in here. Let's see, is it pretty good? Ladies and gentlemen, it is a bit too fast, so I'm going to extend it all the way to the end. Let's see how this looks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how it's still a bit weird. I think it starts too quick. Let's slow it down just a tiny bit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I don't know. I need it to be quick in the beginning and then slow down. This. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, and it zooms in way too much, so I'm just going to go up to, go over to my second keyframe and set it to 110. This way it only zooms into 110, not 120. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in... Okay, it's bouncing back a little because I dropped this one too far. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Now, I've already had it in my mind that these three sections here are going to be animations. So I'm probably not going to do any zoom-ins here because we're probably not even going to use the B-roll. Because when I explain my points, I probably want to do animations there. And I wanted to include 3 animations for you guys. So to keep it entertaining, I'm probably going to make all 3 of these sections animations. So with that being said, probably not going to add any zoom-ins here. But at the end, and all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Edit. I'll probably do a quick zoom out, honestly. I think that's the best work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. There we go. Awesome. Okay, and with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. Let's get to work on stage number 2, which is text and subtitles. Now, for the sake of not taking up way too much, courses or course space on school, I'm going to go ahead and just to not make this too complex, I'm going to go ahead and do the subtitles in the same course right here. And then for the next part, we're going to take care of the animations, okay? But for now, let's go ahead and take care of the subtitles. So if you guys remember, after stage 1, once you've made your raw footage good, once you've made the cuts, pacing is solid, and the zoom-ins are in place, and you kind of have a general plan, the next step is your subtitles. And for the subtitles, remember the first step is creating the generating the transcript, and then changing the transcript into a caption, and then creating your text style and adding that to the captions. I'm going to do things a bit differently. I'm going to create my text style first and then add it to the captions. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to click on T, click on the middle of the screen, and just write out text style like this. And let's go ahead and create our text style. You guys remember, to create your text style, you need to open up your window and go down to properties, which is over here. Inside your properties, let's get to work. Let's make sure this is all centered and at the center of the screen. We're going to use our Nexa font, which is a font I really, really like. We're going to go for Nexa Heavy. And we're also just going to make sure that the T is capital and the S is capital as well. I believe there is a subscript for this. I think one of these is probably called title or something. Oh, okay, we don't have it here. Anyways. Let's go ahead and write this out and let's get started on our text style. The text style I'm going to be going with is a simple white with a nice and simple drop shadow. It's honestly the best text style you can go with in Premiere Pro. It's nice, it's simple, it's effective. That's all that matters. Let's go ahead and get to work on it. So we're going to select this and we're going to kind of just leave the variation as it is. Just maybe shrink it down a little bit. We're going to leave the fill as it is. Yeah, we're definitely just going to leave the fill as it is. Probably going to make it slightly more gray because it's a bit more realistic. Remember what I told you guys about the colors? Don't go for extreme colors. Then we're probably just going to add a shadow, a drop shadow, and keep it simple. We're going to leave the, make sure its color is black because that looks better. And then we're probably just going to bump up the opacity. And then let's see, let's make it a bit bigger. Not the distance, just the size. Yeah, not the distance, sorry. Size is a bit bigger, and then just kind of fade it out with some blur, and we should be good. Less distance would be better. And awesome, there we go. Just nice and simple. I mean, the simpler the text style, if it just works, it works. This is amazing. And this is going to be our base text style, right? And I'm just going to place it over here. So I'm not going to transform this layer. I'm going to double click on the text. I'm just going to make sure I do all my changes inside of my text so I could save it. I'm probably going to make this font a bit smaller, maybe 80, like that. And then just kind of move it to the bottom of the screen right here. Right here. This would be perfect. And then if I could just do this, get this done with, that would be awesome. So this is my base text style. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this and I'm going to go down to my linked style. And I'm just going to click on the plus icon and click on create style. And we're just going to call this base text style. And if you want to export this from your project files, you can right click, by the way, and you can export this text style onto your files so you can use this in other projects. Now, the next step is we need to create our special text style. So let's double click on this thing and let's go ahead and create special text. And for the special text, I'm probably going to get rid of my drop shadow like so. And I'm probably going to change its color to a blue. Actually, let's choose the kind of theme color we want to go with. Do you guys want to go with a red? Do you want to go with a yellow? I'm probably going to go with an orange for this one. You know what? Let's just go ahead and make it a bit different. Probably just going to use an orange like that. Nice and bright. And then what I'll probably do is I'll either add a background shadow to it, or I'll just use a glow around it. And a glow, I think, always works really, really nicely. So we'll also do that. Okay, special text is good. We can also add a stroke to it if we wanted to, make it white and then just put it on the outer side. Just make sure that you select your text. And we could just make this one like 2 pixels. That looks pretty special, but it does not fit our theme. If we went with a darker orange, like that, it could potentially fit our theme, could look a bit nicer, but I don't think that's going to look good at all. It's very, very old school and it's not going to look modern. So let's just go with the drop shadow. That looks pretty good. Okay, awesome. And with this done, that's pretty much all that we need for this, I believe. Maybe not this orange. I really don't like this orange. Let's go for a different one. Let's go for a bit of a more red color and we should be good to go. Awesome. And this is going to be our special text style. Awesome. Let's go ahead and add this in. Create a style. We're going to call this special text. And there we go. Amazing. Now we can go ahead and delete it and start generating our text. So now it's time to get into our text window. If you don't find it, you can go under window and into text. And let's go ahead and create our transcript and then captions, or you can head over to captions and just click create captions from transcript. It's that simple. And then let's go ahead and open both of these and set them. The format is the subtitles, as we remember. The style, we can actually choose which one we want. So I'm going to choose my base text style for these. Let's make the maximum length 25 or 30. And then 2-second duration, single lines. Transcript preferences, you can leave these as they are and we should be good to go. Let's go and click on transcribe, give it a moment to finish the transcription. And there we go, it created captions. Now, it's already created captions, which means we can't really change much of the transcript. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this and remove all of my comments. So you guys can see over here, I've got my comma. Over here, I've got nothing. Here, I've got a period. Here, I've got a comma. Here, nothing, period. Let's go ahead and get these done. Yep, another period here. Another comma here. Another period here. And another period here. Awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, once that's done, you got your text. Now we're going to go through one more step and we're just going to make sure everything is aligned. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've already had this planned, but with my intro, I'm actually not going to subtitle what I'm saying. I'm going to subtitle the whole thing as a title. Okay, so it's going to look even better. So this is just a special thing that we could do. I could subtitle what I'm saying, but I just want to do things a bit differently. I want to teach you guys something from these courses. So we're going to subtitle it all as one big cool title and we're going to add a few cool icons. Okay, so with this being said, once we have selected all of this, we could select, once we make sure everything's good, we can upgrade these captions to graphic. As usual, I went up to graphics and titles and upgraded the captions to graphic. This is so we can add some cool animations and stuff. And then let's just go ahead and align all these. Now remember, because they're J-cuts, right? Since my text does technically start at this point here, this cut's over here, but it's supposed to be over here because of my J-cut. First, you must learn both Premiere. Okay, so I'm going to quickly align these. So then you must has to start here. And this thing has to end over here. Quickly just do this just to make sure everything is good. And finally it has to be here. This has to be here. And this has to be here. And that thing has to be over here. Awesome. Let's just extend that a little bit more. Let's double check for any grammar or spelling mistakes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get started on our special text. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be selecting, this whole section here is going to be one big title. So I'm just going to delete all of these because I'll take care of this later, okay? And the plan is, let me just kind of break this down what I've got in my mind. The plan is to have one big text style all over this place and just have one title like Master Video Editing in 2025 and then use different colors and glows, add some icons and just make it a really, really cool intro. And you guys will see how we can use this for our video. Okay, just kind of stick with me, all right? So I'll just go ahead and delete this and just make this whole section here something like, over here, we're going to just call it Master Video Editing like this. And then I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay, so this is just another text effect and just drop it down here, drop its position down. So all I have is another text and call it in 2025 like this. Okay, and now we could just kind of resize them how we like. I'm going to make this one a bit bigger like this. I think that's a lot cooler. And then for this one, we'll use the white. And for this one, we're going to use the special text style. So I'm going to double click on this to open up my properties, select my text, go down and change this to the special text style. And we're good. Awesome. I think that looks amazing. Okay. Another thing we'll be doing later on is we're going to be adding in the Premiere Pro and After Effects logos. But for now, it looks good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. Notice how it kind of feels like a little title, which is a bit cooler. Now, both of these need to be moved up to the top like this. like that. That just kind of looks a lot better, and this is good. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Now here, everything is good. We're just going to highlight Premiere Pro over here. So we're going to make sure that we open up our properties panel, make sure we keep this thing open, highlight Premiere Pro, and then just change its color to a orange. If we like this orange, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and I'm actually make this a bit whiter because it looks a bit better. I'm going to select this orange that we've got over here, and I'm going to copy its color code. Now, a color code is just a code that you have for each color inside of Premiere Pro and After Effects. And here, instead of choosing orange again, I can click on this, and to choose the exact same orange, I could just paste the color code here. Okay, we're going to do this all over again. High quality editing style. I probably need to highlight the word editing style, so I'm going to select it, and in my color code, I can change the color code here. To stylize your content with is good. And finally, then we need to high quality personal brand. The personal brand needs to be highlighted right here, and then showcase your work is good. All this can be done in just 90 days. I'm going to highlight the word 90 days because that's a valuable point. And finally, the words ultimate editors. Awesome. There we go. Looks amazing. Let's go and watch through this and just make sure everything's good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. All right, looks amazing. Let's go ahead and get started on two things: text animations and text effects. Let's leave text effects till the end. Let's first do text animations. So all we got to do here is we could use our preset, which we've created, which is called the text scale in animation. But I'm going to quickly create this just to make sure that we have this thing remembered. So we got to do everything inside of our transform layer so we could save our transform layer as a preset. So we're going to add the transform effect inside of our effect control so that we can start altering its transform properties. And if we do everything inside of the transform effect, this small package here, then we can save this package as a preset and apply the transform effect to absolutely everything. So the first thing we got to remember is to scale in. I'm probably going to use a different animation here. Let's use a different one. Let's keyframe the position over here of your text at the beginning. Then let's go ahead and move forward and add another keyframe like this. So now nothing's happening. We just have two keyframes at the same time. We're going to go to the first one and drop it down. So we have a little pop-up like this. This drops down way too far, so I'm just going to I'm just going to go to my first one, just have it start a bit higher. First, you must learn like that. We're going to select both of these, and in our velocity, we're going to make sure we have a spike quick in the beginning and then a slow down at the end like this. First, you must learn. Okay, now this is way too fast, so I'm going to go and slow it down a little bit. First, you must learn. That's still way too fast. First, you must learn. That is way too fast. Let's go and drop this thing down a bit more. First, you must learn both. We can extend it a bit more. First, you must learn. That looks a lot better. Now for this thing, we're also going to add some motion blur all the way. First, you must learn both. I think that looks amazing. And I think even this without anything just looks awesome. So we're going to go ahead and save this as a text pop up like this. I think that just looks super simple and super awesome. And I'm a huge fan of simple effects. And now all we got to do is just select the rest of our text and just drag and drop this text pop up preset on top of all of them. Premiere Pro and After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. Awesome. And then with that being said, this first one over here, for this first text, I'm thinking of, should we do text pop-up? Ladies and gentlemen, this is how... Ladies and gentlemen, this is... We could do text pop-up. Why not? Let's go and drag it on top of both of them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is... Let's just make sure that they both end at the same time. So like my first one's second keyframe is over here. And my second one's second keyframe is here. Because we saved this as a scale preset. So it's going to alter based on the size of your layer. So I'm going to bring this back over here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2020. That looks awesome. And let's go ahead and get started on our effects for our text. I think I'm going to add a glow to everything. So let's go ahead and add a VR glow to this first one here. And the VR glow, we first need to drop the luma threshold so we can see it. And then remember, big radius, low brightness. Okay? That's the best way to get cool glows. It's the best thing you could do. Promise you. Okay, now because we have our drop shadow, it's also going to play around with the glow too. So if we remove the drop shadow, You guys will notice the glow is a lot weaker. So I'm going to leave the drop shadow for now because I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, I think it looks good for everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So select it, right click and copy it. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste it on each one. So select this one and paste it, select this one and paste it. And by now I can see like this just looks awesome, right? So let's go ahead and do this to all of them. Select this one and paste it. We'll select this one and paste it. We'll select this one, paste it, this one, paste it. There is a faster way to do this, but it's okay. You don't need to worry about that. You could either save it as a preset and apply it to all of them, or you could copy the clip properties and apply it to all of them. So there's no need to do that for now. Go ahead and paste it on all of these. And there we go. We are good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you master video editing in 2025. First, you must learn both Premiere Pro and After Effects. Then you must learn a high quality editing style to stylize your content with. And finally, you're going to need to create a high quality personal brand to showcase your work. And all this can be done in just 90 days inside of Ultimate Editors. All right. And with this being said, guys, that completes it for our text and our high quality raw footage. It's finally time to dive into the animations, and we have got 3 very high quality animations for you guys prepared. So in the next course, you guys are going to catch up with me and we're going to get started on making the animations for this video. And yeah, I'll just see you guys in the next video. Let's go and make some banger animations. Let's go.